Cora Wilson, an overworked nurse, gave the rest of her paycheck to a child beggar. When Cora was desperate for help years later, a millionaire approached her and her actions reached every corner of the earth. There lived a single mother named Cora in a bustling city. She had been raising her son, Liam, by herself ever since her husband died in a terrible house fire. Every day, she would reminisce about their happy moments and longed for the love and support she had lost. Cora worked as a nurse in a local hospital, a job that demanded long hours and unwavering dedication. Despite her exhaustion, she took pride in her work, knowing that her efforts were making a difference in the lives of her patients. The endless hours spent on her feet, the difficult decisions she had to make, and the constant worry for her patients' well-being were all worth it. Liam was a curious and intelligent 8-year-old boy and was the center of Cora's universe. He was a resilient child, adapting to his father's absence with admirable strength. He filled his days with school, books, and the friendships he forged in the neighborhood. The bond between Cora and Liam was unbreakable, their love for each other a beacon of hope amid the challenges they faced. One fateful day, as Cora was making her way to the hospital, she came across a frail, disheveled girl huddled in a dimly lit corner of the bus station. Her heart ached for the girl, who couldn't have been more than 12 years old. The girl, Olivia, was on the verge of tears, her voice barely audible as she asked for help. Cora scanned the station, searching for any sign of the girl's family, but Olivia seemed to be all alone. Passerby continued with their daily routines, hardly sparing a glance for the desperate child. The sight of Olivia tugged at Cora's heartstrings, and she couldn't help but think of her own son, Liam, and how devastating it would be if he were in such a situation. She reached into her purse and found a $20 bill, along with a small container of homemade pasta she had packed for her lunch break. Cora handed the money and food to Olivia, who hesitated before gratefully accepting the gifts. As tears welled up in the young girl's eyes, she vowed to repay Cora someday. With that, Olivia vanished into the crowded streets, leaving Cora to wonder about the girl's fate. Life went on for Cora and Liam, but the encounter with Olivia stayed in the back of Cora's mind. The years passed and Liam grew into a talented teenager with a passion for soccer. He often practiced in the local park, always striving to improve his skills. He dreamt of someday earning a scholarship to play for a prestigious college team. But one fateful afternoon, during an intense practice session, Liam collided with another player and his leg twisted unnaturally beneath him. His agonized scream pierced the air, and Cora's heart dropped as she witnessed the accident from afar. The ambulance rushed Liam to the hospital, where a battery of tests and x-rays awaited him. Cora paced the hallways, her heart heavy with anxiety and dread. Finally, the doctor emerged, his face a mask of professionalism. He explained that Liam had suffered a severe injury to his knee, tearing both his ACL and MCL. The road to recovery would be long and arduous, requiring extensive surgery and physical therapy. Cora's heart sank, knowing that the cost of Liam's treatment would be astronomical. Even with insurance, they would struggle to cover the expenses. Despite her fears, she assured Liam that they would find a way to manage, determined to see her son recover and chase his dreams once again. As the months went by, Cora worked tirelessly to provide for Liam's medical bills. She took on extra shifts at the hospital and even found a part-time job at a local diner to make ends meet. To further supplement her income, she found a part-time job at a local diner called Joe's Place. The diner was small, family-owned establishment that served comfort food to locals and travelers alike. The owner, Joe, a portly middle-aged man, had hired Cora on the spot. Cora's days became a blur of serving patients at the hospital and customers at the diner. She was often on her feet for more than 16 hours a day, leaving her body aching and her mind numb. Despite the grueling routine, she refused to give up, fueled by her love for Liam and the hope for his recovery. One particularly busy evening at the diner, an irate patron stormed in, demanding service. His face was red with anger, and his voice boomed throughout the establishment. Cora, already exhausted from her long day, tried her best to appease the man, but nothing seemed to satisfy him. The man complained loudly about the food, the service, and even the decor of the diner. Cora's patience was wearing thin, but she knew that she couldn't afford to lose her job, so she bit her tongue and continued to serve the man with a forced smile, inwardly seething with frustration. As the man's tirade continued, the other customers in the diner began to grow uncomfortable. They exchanged worried glances, unsure of what to do. Then, without warning, the angry patron grabbed his glass of water and threw it in Cora's face, causing her to gasp in shock and humiliation. In that moment, something inside Cora snapped. She had reached her breaking point. With a newfound strength fueled by her exhaustion and the injustice of the situation, she stood up to the man and demanded that he leave the diner immediately. the entire diner fell silent, the tension palpable. To everyone's surprise, the man's anger seemed to deflate, replaced by a sheepish expression. He muttered an insincere apology and hurried out of the diner, avoiding eye contact with the other patrons. As the door closed behind him, Cora expected a show of support from her co-workers and the diner's owner. Instead, Joe, the owner, approached Cora with a scowl on his face. He was furious with her for causing such a scene and jeopardizing the reputation of his establishment. "You're fired," Joe said coldly. "I can't have someone working here who can't keep their emotions in check. You should have just let it go." Cora was devastated. She had lost one of her jobs, and the prospect of paying for Liam's treatment seemed even more impossible. But as she left the diner, she made a silent vow to herself. She would find another job, no matter what it took. She would not let this setback stop her from fighting for her son. Liam, meanwhile, continued to face his own battle. The once active teen found himself confined to a wheelchair, his dreams of playing soccer seemingly crushed. Depression began to take hold, and Cora could only watch helplessly as her son's spirit waned. Despite his situation, Liam made an effort to get out when he could, craving the fresh air and sunlight. One day, he went to a nearby park, hoping that the sight of other children playing would lift his spirits. The park was filled with laughter and the sound of a soccer game in progress, which made Liam's heart ache with longing. As Liam watched the game from his wheelchair, a group of kids his age approached him, curiosity written on their faces. Among them was a boy named Jake, a tall and athletic teenager who had always been the star of their school's soccer team. Liam and Jake had been friends before the accident, but Jake had distanced himself from Liam after he was injured, unsure of how to interact with his former teammate. "Hey, Liam," Jake said awkwardly, his eyes flicking from Liam's wheelchair to the soccer game in the distance. "How have you been?" Liam swallowed the bitterness that threatened to rise in his throat and offered a weak smile. "I've been better, obviously," he replied, "but I'm getting by." Jake nodded, seemingly unsure of what to say next. The other kids in the group exchanged uncomfortable glances, as if they regretted approaching Liam in the first place. Sensing the tension, one of the younger kids, probably around 10 years old, decided to break the silence with a cruel taunt. "Bet you wish you could still play, huh?" the younger kid sneered, pointing at Liam's wheelchair. "Too bad you're stuck in that thing." The words felt like a punch to the gut, and Liam's face flushed with humiliation. He clenched his fists, fighting the urge to respond. But instead of sinking to the kid's level, he took a deep breath and forced a calm response. "Yeah, I wish I could play," Liam admitted, his voice steady. "But I'm not going to let this wheelchair define me. I'll find a way to adapt and maybe even play again someday." The younger kid's eyes widened in surprise, clearly not expecting Liam's mature response. Jake, looking ashamed of his own silence, placed a hand on the younger kid's shoulder and shot him a stern look. "Hey, that's enough," Jake said, his voice firm. The group of kids murmured in agreement, and Jake offered Liam an apologetic smile. Liam was determined not to let his disability hold him back, and knew he would find a way to overcome his challenges. Still desperate for a solution, Cora decided to start a crowdfunding campaign to raise the necessary funds for Liam's surgery. The campaign gained traction, with friends and strangers alike donating what they could. However, it was still not enough to cover the astronomical cost of Liam's surgery. Cora felt her hope fading, the weight of the situation growing heavier by the day. Then, one evening, as Cora was returning home from her second job, she found a letter slipped under her door. The elegant handwriting on the envelope caught her attention, and she carefully opened it. Inside was a heartfelt message from a woman named Olivia, who revealed that she was the same girl Cora had helped years ago at the bus station. Olivia had never forgotten the kindness Cora had shown her during her time of need. She explained that her life had taken a turn for the better since that fateful day, and she had become a successful entrepreneur. Overwhelmed with gratitude and eager to repay her debt, Olivia offered to cover the remaining cost of Liam's surgery. Cora could hardly believe her eyes as she read the letter, tears streaming down her face. It seemed like a miracle that someone she had helped so long ago would reappear in her life just when she and Liam needed it most. With renewed hope, she shared the news with her son, who finally allowed himself to believe that he could one day return to the soccer field. Under Olivia's generous patronage, Liam underwent the necessary surgery and began his grueling physical therapy sessions. Slowly but surely, he regained his strength and mobility. He was no longer just fighting for himself, but for the woman who had saved his mother's life and in turn his own future. As Liam's recovery progressed, Cora found herself reflecting on the power of kindness and the lasting impact of a single, compassionate act. Her encounter with Olivia had not only changed the young girl's life, but it had ultimately come full circle to rescue her own family from the depths of despair. In the end, the selflessness that Cora had shown years ago would prove to be the catalyst for an incredible chain of events, forever intertwining the lives of two families who had once been strangers.